Hello, hello. Welcome to another Weweb stream. Let me know in the chat if you can see me and hear me okay. Hey, Q. Good to see you in here. Q will be back with us next week, of course. He's having a few internet issues after moving apartments, but he'll be back. Hi, Alexandra. Good to see you. Have you been? I didn't remember seeing your name in the chat before. Have you been with us in previous streams, or is this your first one? I'd be curious to know. So yeah, today what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a look at. We're currently recording videos for the new Weweb Academy, and the idea with the academy, and I'll show you in a second, actually, is to have courses to help you build an MVP in Weweb, and then also to scale that MVP, like to improve the app's performances, but also improve, kind of refactor the code so that it can handle more and more end users, and that it's also easier to maintain, because um, a lot of the times what's related to scaling an app actually requires a lot of maintenance. It's like 20% building, 80% maintenance. So we'll have a course on that as well. All right, cool. First time here. Very nice to see you. Do you know, have you used Weweb before? Are you just beginning with Weweb, or do you know about us? Or have you already used the tool and are looking to know more? I'd love to know. And let me share your screen in the meantime. Actually, let me first, I'm going to add a little bit of background music. Good morning, Alistine7. I'm going to add a bit of music. I know Q likes it, so. And the other day, I improvised a stream like 11 on a Friday. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed the music. Can I even change the... Hey, Joel, good to see you. Alstine, have you been in the streams before? Do you know a little bit about Weweb, or are you like discovering? Do you need a little bit of an overview of what we do? First time in the stream. All right, cool. Okay. I'm gonna turn the music a little bit down. But been building on Weweb for a few months. All right, nice. Are you enjoying it? I hope you hope you are. Is there anything you're having more? So today I'm going to show you the curriculum of the upcoming Weweb Academy. It will be released in approximately 7 weeks. I will confirm. We will announce a launch date very soon. So yeah, actually, let me share my screen right away with you and stop teasing this too much. So let me go here. What you see here on the screen is actually what we'll be building today. And this is a design in Figma. And basically today, and it will be a big topic in the first level, in the level 1 of the Weweb Academy. A big topic will be how to integrate a design, whether the design, in this case, the design was made in Figma, but it could be made, it could be made in Google Slides for all we care. But the idea is how do you integrate an external design into Weweb? How do you think about design as well? How do these different blocks actually translate onto a web page? So we'll discuss. I want to start with that today. So Austin is saying I'm RCS. Oh, nice. RCS hub in the community. It's been great, but we'll have to admit support feels sparse. All right. Well, there was for sure there were the holidays. So I know we were a bit slower in terms of support, but if you have any questions, is it like support in the chat or in the community that you thought was a bit lacking? And is there actually, I'll check out again your topics in the community, but if you want to share here, I'd love to know what you're struggling most with. Q in the chat, who works on the product side of things, he spends a lot of time trying to improve, to make it easier for new users to get Weweb right away. So if you want to share with us where you think we should improve, go for it. And Alexandra is saying, I'm currently working in the no-code agency. We use Bubble for startups and looking for the best tools. All right, nice. Well, you probably already know the big difference between Bubble and Weweb is that Weweb, we only do the front end. So you can build your user interfaces and also add front-end logic. But then you connect an external backend, so external data sources and authentication systems. And so never tried Weweb, but the functions are similar to Bubble. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let me share with you. I'm going to share with you this, which is the course of the upcoming academy. So the level 1 will be focused on building your MVP. You'll have a short introduction about the course and Weweb. Then it'll be about preparing and connecting your data. I'm not going to focus on that today because I think that's something that the product handles very well, where it's I think it's fairly intuitive. We have help within the product, and then the user documentation explained that very well. I will focus on create your layout. So how to think about, you have your design, your external design, how do you integrate it into Weweb? Then there'll be another part about how to display the data, external data in Weweb, and filter it through a search bar or select elements or all of that. Then we'll cover how to send data to maybe update, create a new record or update an existing record in your backend, and then we'll add an authentication system. So with the level 1 of the Weweb Academy, basically you can build an MVP with basic features to test your product. And then this is a work in progress, but the level 2, the idea is really to build like a pro. So we'll take your MVP and we'll change. For the MVP, we'll show you best practices. So you build in a way that then it makes it easier to scale. And in the level 2, we'll go deeper into how to organize your workflows, your API calls, and all of that within Weweb, so that they're it's easier to maintain. And we'll also cover more complex use cases, more complex elements like the Kanban, the data grid. We'll cover states, more complex web concepts, basically. So that's it for the kind of the overview of what the academy will be like. And just so you know, so we'll also make it possible for you to request videos or about concepts or specific features, and request new ones, and also upvote suggestions made by other users. So that will be made available in the first version of the academy, and then in a future version, we'll try adding the possibility for Weweb experts to upload their own content. We'll probably approve them before they're made public on our academy, but the idea is to kind of create more of the support that you were talking about, to make that more available. And like Fun Strudel, so Q is saying, the product team is working heavily on the user docs. Hope if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask them, because we're always trying to improve our user doc in the academy, of course. And Chris Ryder says, you had the same typo. One of our developers had the same typo once. So you use Weweb and Bubble. Weweb is perfect. The problems you had with Bubble were easily solved with Weweb and its integration. That's actually really nice to know. What kind of problems, like, what would you say is a strength of Weweb? I mean, Bubble has it's a great tool. They have their own strength. Like, you have your data with Bubble. It can, if that's what you're looking for, that can be really helpful to have all your backend workflows and front-end logic in the same tool. But yeah, would love to know that. So Chris Ryder, I have used Weweb, Webflow, Ycode, Software, and Bubble. Nice. Yeah, so cool. Weweb is perfect. All the problems I had with Bubble were easy. Yeah, nice. Very cool. And all of these tools are great, by the way. It's just like different use cases. Different tools are best suited for different use cases, and also depending on your experience. A lot of developers, for example, really like Weweb because we're very close to the code, so they understand that if there's a no-code setting or property missing, they can add it themselves. So they usually enjoy that. Okay, let's get started on the actual content. In Q in the chat, if you can, if you, I will like have, I kind of have a script of things I don't want to forget, so I might not see your comments in the chat right away. So Q, if you want to, answer questions, go for it. All right, so let's start with, so this is our Figma basically. And the idea is, so the first thing is that when you design a user interface, which you would want to do, you would want to do in Weweb, the first thing we recommend is that you design before integrating the design into a tool like Weweb or whatever tool you're using. This is a best practice for anything. It's a bit like when you're writing an article or when you're composing a piece of music. You have the writing phase and you have the editing phase. So and then you have the production phase. And so it's the same with web design. You want to start the writing process. I don't know, maybe on a blank piece of paper, and then you'll do the editing in a tool, in a professional tool, to actually, like Figma, to actually make it look nice and all of that. And then the production side of things, you'll take it to Weweb. So here we have this design in Figma, and when you think about integrating it to Weweb, or on a web page, you kind of have to think in terms of blocks. So maybe you've heard of the box model. If you haven't, that's absolutely fine. The idea is that on a web page, content is basically boxes. So a web page is made of lots of different boxes. It can be only one box, actually. Maybe it's just one big block of text, in which case it's just one box. But it can be multiple boxes that are next to each other and stacked on top of each other. And so by default, so the boxes are actually HTML, that's content. And by default, those boxes are responsive. HTML is responsive, but then you add CSS, you add design, and it can kind of break the responsiveness. But all of that maybe doesn't completely matter, but it's still interesting to know that by default, a web box is responsive. And so if you ever mess up, basically, if you clear all the CSS settings, you should be pretty good and it should be pretty responsive. But anyway, so if we go to this design, we go to this page. And so if you had this design and then you had to think, okay, how do I put that on my page? Well, what you would want to do is you kind of have to train your eye, and this is one method. You can do it different ways, but one method would be to start at the top left and go from left to right and top to bottom. And it may be that you need to design from right to left. That's fine. Just the same concept would apply. You would just kind of have to reverse. But in our case, basically, we want to train the eye to start around here. I don't know if you can. Oops, no, that's too much. I already did that in Figma for some reason. Let me just do it a little bit like that. Well, I'll leave it. Okay. Okay, so we'll train our eye to start here. And basically what we do is we say, okay, if we go, for example, top to bottom, we see that here suddenly there's a space here. And then, so maybe this is a different block from this. And then if we go here, our eye, is stopped by a border. And again, there's some space. So this block is probably not the same as this block. And to view those blocks, you gotta, you think about the spaces and also borders. Usually if there's a border, it's kind of a sign that it's a different block. But then let's go left to right. If we go left to right, we go here, there's a bunch of space, but it's on the same level. So it's probably the same, like this would be one block probably, and then, but then within that block we have these two and this one. And if we take the entire page, if we go left to right, we see that here, if we go from top to bottom, there's nothing blocking our path. So this suggests that there's one big block on the left and one block on the right. But this entire thing is actually, one big block. So if I go here, like this would be the content on the page, and you see that I have some spacing here at the top, on the left, on the right. And then, we would have, well, actually we can start with the margins maybe. So if we start maybe with this content before going to columns, that might help. And let me go here. So I'll start with start. And actually that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, sorry, I went a bit too fast. So let's start with this big block of content on the page, and we have spacing here. So that's actually the first place where you might mess up, because the temptation would be to add margins, like we're saying here, to add margins and pixels or percentages. That's a fairly common thing. But if we do that, let me see where I have this. Look at my notes, because we prepared some examples, so then it's easier for you to see. So we have here this design, and don't worry, we'll redo the design on our own. But basically here, what you see in blue, those are margins that we put in percentages, and then we added the green as the padding. So the problem with using margins like this, let me go into preview mode, is that it doesn't play well on big screens. So if I go, for example, in responsive mode, I can stretch my screen, and you see here that if I stretch, suddenly my design isn't very balanced. Like my table becomes hard to read, because like there's too much space here. So a design that was quite nicely balanced with nice smooth spacing, suddenly it's kind of stretched and not very easy to read. So then the next, with this thing here, the next the next step would be the next idea would be to add padding. But padding, so we tried with this example here. Padding kind of has it's kind of similar issues as margins. So if we stretch this, let me go on my page here. If we stretch this, then again, it looks like our design suddenly is a bit flat and unbalanced. And so it's a little bit better, but it's not ideal. So what we recommend instead, and there are different school of thoughts, there are people who absolutely swear by margins with percentages. For us, we're a different school of thought, and the method we propose is actually having a max width on the content, on the section, and then adding padding so that it plays well on small screens as well. So you see here that even on large screen, the design stays nice and balanced, and the table is easy to read. But if we go on a smaller screen, we still have nice spacing. The content is not stuck next to the screen edges. And how we did that is basically we applied a max width on our section. So by default, the max width is full, and we just switched it to boxed with 1300 pixels. And then for padding, let me go in desktop mode. For padding, we added a little bit of padding on the sides and also top to bottom, so we have nice spacing, and it doesn't on small screen, it doesn't get stuck. So to remember, like, playing around with margins will not work well on large screens. Max width will help you keep your design balanced, and adding a little bit of padding will ensure that there's some space left and that it looks nice even on small screens. Does that make sense, or did I completely lose you along the way? Just checking my notes to see if there was anything I wanted to... No, that's... Okay, I think that was the first thing I wanted to cover with you. And so now, if we go back to our design, remember we said we had a big block of content, and we said our eye, if we go left to right, we see that here there's a divide where our eye can just smoothly go from top to bottom, and that suggests so that there are two columns. So we have those two columns, and let's start actually integrating this design in Weweb. So I'll create a blank page, create layout. Oh, I already had one for, so let's say Twitch. Let's go. Okay, so I have my blank page, and I'm gonna add a section. I'm gonna do exactly what I just recommended. So I'll switch my section to boxed. I leave it at 1300. I could change that if I wanted to. It's just it's a good width, and I'll add some padding. I will actually go for, well, no, let's separate both padding. So let's say 20. Or I know our CPU likes when it's when you can divide by 8. What's important is that when you set paddings or margins, that it's any spacing is that they're dividable by 2, because in some cases you might have, for example, a margin right for one element and a margin left for another element. So you want to be able to have, for example, 12 and 12 instead of having 24 on the margin right and 0 on the margin left. It's kind of it's easier to maintain that way. And let's say for here I want to, all right, so you see my section here. So in green, that represents the padding, and here you see that's one block. All this is one block, and inside that right now it's empty, but we know we have columns, so let's just add a columns element. And you see our columns element is made of 2 boxes, 2 flex boxes actually, but it's 2 boxes. When I was talking about the box model, you're starting to see it as that here in Weweb, and it's similar to Webflow, for example. You have your HTML tree on the left, so those are all the boxes, all the containers, all the elements that are on your web page that are displayed or not, because you can hide some, but it's the HTML tree. Whether they're displayed on the page or not, they will be in the code, in the source code, downloaded in the user's browser when they access the page. Now here on the right, those are the CSS properties. That's where you can style the HTML elements. And for example, if we take our columns here, so by default on the web, columns are usually like divided into 12 units. You can actually change that. We recommend, if your design requires that, we recommend you don't. 12 is a nice round number that is pretty standard for columns. And what we can do is, if we look at our how it looks like here, we can go ahead, we will eyeball it. We could actually go into Figma and calculate exactly. We could look at the width of this element and the width of this element, and kind of calculate exactly the proportion. We'll just eyeball it for our purpose, the purpose of this stream. But just know that you can kind of decide like this. Right away, I'm going to rename. So I'm going to rename this content, and I'm going to rename this. So I can rename here left, for example, or I can just double click here and type in, right? So I like to, again, there are different schools of thoughts, and feel free to tweak our proposed way of approaching this, but we think that it helps to kind of look at the design, figure out where the boxes are, and add those boxes in the HTML tree, give them a name right away so that it's easy to navigate through the HTML tree as you add elements, boxes on the page. And then we like to add the data to tweak the design and all of that. But feel free to adapt as it works for you. And Austin is saying, okay, it made sense. Looking forward to having these details and best practices in the academy. Yeah. Hope that everybody will love this new academy. And obviously, as with the product, as if with everything we do, it will be a work of continuous improvement. So what we will do is that we will invite you to, at the end of each lesson, we will give you the option to send us a message, a private message. So don't worry about embarrassing us if you know, or being self-conscious about that. Don't worry, we're never embarrassed when you ask for improvements. But anyway, you'll have the option to tell us if there was anything unclear in the video, if there was anything we could have explained better, or anything you would like us to spend more time on. So we will continuously update that to make it as helpful as possible. All right, back to our columns. So we have our two columns, and actually, yeah, let's add, you see here there's a little bit of green. That's because there's a little bit of padding. So in our, by default, in our columns elements, you see that we have a little bit of green. But we didn't have any top padding on our design. So let's get rid of the top padding. There we go, top and bottom. So we only have that, I don't know if you can see it okay, but here we have a little bit of green. And actually on our flex boxes, it looks like we have some padding. Let's get rid of that for now. And there we go. That way right now we're really following the design that we have in Figma. Okay, now in these columns, we have different boxes again. And you see, so if we train our eyes left to right, top to bottom, as I mentioned here, you see there's a big chunk of space here and same here. And then in between these, there's a big chunk of space here and actually maybe even here, but let's see. So we have, in our left column, we have a block, which is a header, overview, and history. So let's add that, add those containers. And I actually want these containers to take 100% of the width of their parent container. So all of these are children of column 1. And these two, card and links, are children of column 2. And so column 1 is the parent of header, overview, and history, and column 2 is the parent of cards and links. It's not necessarily very important to know that, but you might hear those terms thrown around as you use Weweb or as you study no code. So it's best to have. I like to introduce you to those terms basically. Okay, header, overview, history. I want that each to take 100% of the width. So what I will do is I will add a div. I will add a div here, and what I'll do is the reason I'm adding a div and not a container is that it's the same element, except that the div has a 100% width, whereas the container has an automatic width. And in this case, I knew I wanted the container taking 100%, so I'm using a div. And what I can do is I'm on Mac, so I'll do Command C, Command V. I can copy paste basically, and I'll say header, overview, and history. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Okay, so we have this, and you see again, we talked about the box model, about elements stacking on top of each other. You see here we have those 3 boxes inside column 1, inside this column 1. So actually, let me rename. I'm gonna rename this column 1, so it matches the names on our Figma. So if I'm on column 1, you see that column 1 is that blue box, and inside there are 3 boxes. Okay. And let me do cards and links actually for the other. So I'll just copy paste this one and drag and drop it here. And this will be cards, card and links. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. Overview history. All right, nice. Let's move along. Let's go in this one here. So here, if we go from left to right, we see that, boom, there's this big chunk of space before we get this select element. So we have 2 containers in here. Let's go ahead and add them. And in this case, I will use the container. I will use the Flexbox, which has the default width on automatic. So left and right. Okay, and you see here those 2 little boxes, they're kind of stuck in the middle there. I actually want them to be like on my Figma, like one right to the left and one right to the right. So what I'll do is I will go ahead on the Flexbox, on the parent container. I will justify here with space between. So this is a Flexbox property, and we'll have a dedicated video in the Academy about Flexbox settings. And also in the product, we're probably going to add tooltips on hover to, for example, this is space evenly, this is flex start, this is flex end, sorry, this is centered, and this is space between, yeah. So yeah, if you're coming from Webflow, for example, it might help, even though of course the visuals help a lot. Sometimes it helps to have the term that you're used to. So we'll probably improve that. Now, what we want to do, let me check what, oops. No, that is not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Okay, where did I go? Oof. Let me refresh my editor. Yeah, there we go. And actually I can expand here. Okay, so we have left, right. And what we want here is we want this left one. We want it to take up all the space it can in the container. First, what we'll do is we'll actually add those 2 vertical items there. So those are 2 text elements. Let me add them now. Oops. Text. Let me add here. Boom. And you see here that they're next to each other. So, by default, it'll go left to right. But what I can do is on my parent container, on the Flexbox, I can say, I want the children elements of this Flexbox to go from top to bottom instead of left to right. So you see by default, it's horizontal. It's a horizontal direction from left to right, but we'll make them vertical. So they stack underneath each other. But still, you see that here I'm on left here, and it's a tiny box, and if I go on the right, same, it's a tiny box. So the left one, actually, I wanted to stretch and to take all of the available room. So I'll do this. I'll apply this. Again, this is a Flexbox setting to tell this element left that it can take up all the space that is left by other children elements. So in this case, the right element. Does this make sense, or is this like too abstract for you? Again, there'll be a dedicated video on Flexboxes, but I've kind of chosen to sprinkle these concepts along the way through a real use case where you really integrate a new page. But if it's confusing, please don't hesitate to let us know. Okay, so call traffic is here. Manage your team members and their account permissions here. And I was going to correct my typo, but actually I think it's a good opportunity to show you this, that in terms of character case, you can actually go ahead and capitalize like this if you wanted to, or like this. So in our case, I am going to correct my typo because it doesn't look good. All right, so now, and Chris Wright is saying makes sense. Cool. Now let's actually, I'll go into Figma directly. I'll click on traffic here, call traffic on the text element, and it's telling me the font is Inter, weight is 500, size of the text is 32 pixels, and line height is 38. I don't know if you can see well, but when I try to zoom in Figma, it's, it's zooming the content. So let me, I don't know. No, I can't make it bigger. So 500, 32, 38. Boom. 500 is the font weight, so kind of how bold it is. 500, 32 is the text size, and 38 is the line height. I could leave it as auto, but it specifies. So, and here, by default, all the Weweb projects have a default font of Inter, but actually you could change that if you wanted to. We could go ahead and go to fonts. You can import directly, import a Google font. I don't know, Poppins, for example. You can select the font and make it. If you make it the default font of the project, then because here the font family that's selected as default, actually it's not Poppins, it's default, then this will change to Poppins automatically. But let's make it Inter again, because otherwise our designer is going to be sad. So I changed the default font back to Inter, and there we go. Now, let's see. So Chad is saying, I love to learn better ways to manage data and scrolling for different areas on a page. That's super interesting. So manage data in the, like, do you mean how you load it on the page? Because in the level 1 of the Academy course, we'll have a section to that will talk about when you should filter the data in the back end versus when you should filter it in the front end. So when you should, for example, tell Xano to only send you 100 items instead of 1,000, and when so that would be a back-end filter. Or when you add a front-end filter, which would be you have 100 items in Weweb, but you only want to show the ones that start with Y. So that would be front-end logic. Okay, so for example, Slack has 3 columns in filtering. So for example, Slack has 3 columns and filtering and scrolling on all 3 columns. Oh, so sorry, I'm not sure I understand. So for example, here we have 4 columns, and you can filter. You could filter, like, for example, if we filtered on, I mean, this isn't Figma, but if we filtered on current month, it would filter. Is that what you mean? Sorry, I'm not sure I understand, Chad. But if if you want to record a Loom, for example, and post it on the community or send it to me via email, I think you already have my email address, but it's joyce@weweb.io. So for anyone else in the chat, feel free as well. If you have suggestions or things you don't understand, feel free to send me an email and ask me, or ask in the community. It's even better because you have more. You don't have to wait for me to answer. But for sure, if it's an Academy suggestion, like something you'd like to see in a video by us, feel free to tag me, even if you post in the community. And yeah, until we release the Academy and you can actually make those submissions directly in the Academy or upvote them there. Okay, so this one, supporting text, 400. Oh, something I figured out. Sorry, call traffic. The color is gray 900. So let's go ahead and change the color. I think I have it in my design system actually. Yeah. This is because we did a stream for our French community on Monday, so I added it here already, but you could create a color here. I like to create them and add them to my design system because then I can save them and I can reuse them. It's easier to reuse them everywhere. Oops, what happened there? Let me go ahead and get back. So if I decided, the design system is pretty cool for that, because if you decided to rebrand your company or the project, or if you're building one project for one company and then you want to sell a similar product to another company but you want to adapt it to their brand colors, you can just change the colors of the design system and not have to change everything in the project. But of course soon we'll also have components that will be very, very helpful for that. And if you haven't seen the live with Q presenting the upcoming components, I invite you to watch the replay on the recording on YouTube. All right, this one is 414.20. 414. Boom. And 20. All right, and the color is gray 500. Gray 500. And you see, like, it's so much easier to work with a design that you integrate, like to integrate separately, because if I was trying to design this in Weweb, there would be so much trial and error. First of all, I'm not a designer, so it would probably look very ugly. But there would be so much trial and error. Whereas if you have, you already have the tool to build, to get to grasp with. So it's like you can't be awesome at everything. So if you have someone who can do design in Figma and they're great at Figma, I'm lousy in Figma, then great. You have that beautiful design, and then I'm actually decent with Weweb, and then I can actually go pretty fast and just integrate it super fast, and it'll look good because a pro did the design. Joel is asking, will the Academy always be building from a blank canvas, or will some components be explained? In this context, I'm referring to the components as sections, hero, feature, and CTA. So the level 1 of the Academy will be building this kind of client portal. Very basic authentication, simple design, a couple of pages. Level 2 will be building a complete ticketing app, and in that ticketing app, you will have the data grid, you will have the Kanban element, you'll have complex, you'll have a responsive sidebar. So you will have those components, those more complex sections. I'm not sure if that helps. Like the lessons, we'll try to arrange the lessons in the way that you don't have to watch the entire course if you don't want to. And then basically after these two, level 1 and level 2, what we'll do is we'll have one course per use case. So one course to build a CRM with Weweb and Zano, one course to build a client portal with Supabase and Weweb. So that, and the reason we're doing that is that we want people who follow the course from like A to Z to actually, start from scratch, kind of always have that layout and that data structure component to it. And like at the end, they actually have a project that works. But there will also be, not right away, but as we move along, there will be like tutorial videos on how to use maps or Mapbox or whatever. That for now, we're for these elements, it's the user doc. The user doc is like an API of the product. But we will. Does that answer your question, Joel, or not really? Or maybe you meant like, will we look at some elements from the UI kits? For example, the responsive sidebar, we will explain it in level 2. Same with the alert system and the modal. Those will be covered in level 2. Okay, manager team members and permissions. Did I finish that? All right, and this is a drop-down select, so let me just do it quickly here. Select Oops, maybe it's I'm in the UI kit. Drop. And so it was actually a select. Yeah. All right, let me drop it here. Okay, cool. And you see here it's taking up the entire the light. It's fat basically. It's taking up all the space like this. And actually it's because I'm in horizontal still instead of vertical. If I change the direction of my parent flex box here to vertical and I justify it to the top, then suddenly it will go ahead and oh no, actually I don't need to put it to the top, so let's leave it here. I'm wondering though if it's taking a bit too much space for my liking. Oh, and I think it is because, yeah, I have a default width. Let's put it back to auto. Yeah, that's it. So I want to match my design. I want it to be, you know, fairly small like this. And Jill is saying, makes sense. Would love to see tutorials on components like Tailwind UI. Okay, great to know. Noted. And I think once we release the components, the reusable components, we will have, you know, we'll definitely have user doc on that, and I think we'll have fun. Yeah, we'll have fun with tutorials on those. Okay, so it's already 10:02, but I'd like to show you this. So radius is 8 pixels. 8 pixels. Padding is 11. So 11 on top and bottom, and 16 left and right. So 11. 16. There you go. This is, oh, the placeholder is, where's the placeholder? No, wait. Just thinking about that. There we go. Yeah. So the placeholder is this month, I think. Yeah, this month. And the color is this 3F46. So let's see. 6. F 46. It's gray, but I don't know which one. And the icon is the same color. So this one, but it's not the same icon as we have here. So let's go ahead and go here. And I'm cheating because I had so much time finding it last time that I actually remember what its name. But yeah, you can move around in the icons and look for the one that suits you. Okay. In terms of alignment, I believe so. This will need to be. Actually, can I do that here? I think it's okay. In 1420, did I do that? No. So 14. So 20. And weight is 500. Okay. And the border here, I forgot the border, I think. The border, grade 200, and it's 1 pixel. So let's put a border here. And the design system is grade 200. Let's see. All right, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good, though it doesn't look perfect. Let's see. It looks like, yeah. I'm not a big fan of this. So I think, let's see, there's... in between that. I'm not sure what the space is between this two. You know what? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of that padding on the right that I don't like, because it's throwing off the balance of my 16 and 16 spacing. So I still need a spacing between those two. But, all right, this looks pretty good. Although does this have a big weight? I don't know if we can change the weight. It doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, that'll do. Got 6 minutes. Let's go. All right, well, here we have spacing between the two columns that we don't have yet here, and I think it would be nice to have it. So how do I want to do it? I'm not sure. I'll decide next time. Okay, so yeah, one thing we could do here is we have the same kind of spacing for each block here, or we want it to be balanced. So what we can do is in this column 1, this here is the flex box, and we can say that the rows are all have a space of 16 between them. And the cool thing about that is that you see there's no spacing added at the top and the bottom. It's just in between elements. So now when we add when we start styling our overview and history blocks, we have a nice even spacing between those blocks. And it's actually 32. So let's change that to 32. Boom. All right. Now this block has grade 200 and the radius is 8. And yeah, just so you know, in the academy, like this part will be a long video, probably, I don't know, 45 minutes or 1 hour with timestamps for each section. But most of the other videos will be something like between 10 and 15 minutes, depending on the concept we're covering. This one takes longer because we want to, we want to take the time to, to explain little by little and show you, not just talk about theory, but actually show you how it's done. So hopefully you enjoy it. But don't worry, not every video will be that long. Actually, so here, we have a different background color. So in here, if we go back here, so let's see, we have left and right, which, did we do this already? No, we didn't. Does this make sense? Are you able to see the blocks? Like, would you have guessed that there was one left and one right here? Just as a reminder, like it's, we go from the left to right and then boom, our eye stops. So we need to, it means it's a separate block. And here, because we go top to bottom, like this is a second block. And then here, if you go left to right, it's like there are 3 elements in that block. So left, right, and then like this. Let's go ahead and do that. Left, right. Boom. Left. Again, I think we want to push the 2 boxes to the side. So now the boxes are, we don't want to space evenly, but we want to push the 2 boxes to the side, and we'll need to add some padding because here we see there's a bit of space. So actually, if we go ahead, is it? Yeah, 24. Okay. So here on overview, we have padding of 24 that seems to apply to, oh no, sorry, it's on the left. No. Oh, sorry, it's on the overview. 24. Oops. 24. Boom. Okay, and left we have, so we have 1 text and then 1 block that includes 3 elements. So 1 text. This is a text, so it doesn't need to be inside a, you know, we don't need to add an extra block for this one, but we need to add an extra container for the other 3 because the other 3 go together. So here, and let me just show you quickly. Boom. So the container is here. We have 2 texts and I think 1 icon. There we go. And we'll do again, we'll switch to vertical. And here you see those are like, it needs to be in these 3 elements, the icon, the text, and the other text, they need to be in a box because otherwise we wouldn't be able to decide if they need to be vertically aligned or horizontal, but they go together. We can clearly see in our design that, you know, it's the same little block there. It's not really related to the one on the top, but you can't separate those 3. They go together. So they need to be in the block of their own. And so here, for example, we'll go current month. Boom, current month. And here what we'll do on the right is we'll use the columns gap. So let's say, I don't know if that would work or not really, if it's not nice. Sorry, so it's horizontal. Oh no, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Boom. I want to go in this container and here a column gap of 8, for example. I don't know if that's what we want actually, but let's see. It's just to show you that depending on the direction of your flexbox, you'll be able to add column gaps or row gaps. So here, yeah. Okay. I think maybe we can stop here for today. What do you think? Like, do you have any question? Is there, I can keep going. If you want me to keep going, I can actually finish the page for you. Whatever you prefer. We can chill and I can finish the page with. Or you can wait and for the more structured, the more edited version in the Academy. Let me know. Phone is this one. Henry 700. 1D4 ED8. Oops. Not the background color. Container. How do you join the Academy? Well, first of all, if you want, you can be a beta tester. So we're gonna do a pre-release in 4 weeks where if you want to join as a beta tester, email me at joyce@weweb.io and we'll give you exclusive access to the beta of the Academy. Be gentle with us. The idea is to check that the UX, that the app for the Academy works well, that you don't have any trouble saving your progress, that you're able to send us feedback and all of that. So yeah, if you want to do that, go for it. Well, just email me and then I'll email you back basically. And when we're ready to do that pre-launch, we'll select a maximum of 7 people to test that. And yeah, so feel free to apply. And then it will, the Academy will be public, so you don't have to do anything to join. About, you can just visit the webpage. If you want to save your progress, you'll need an account with Weweb because that, we need to be able to, save your progress somewhere. If you're not signed up, we wouldn't be able to do that. But yeah, that's it. And yeah, the Academy will be free, of course, and that's it. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. Next week, we have a very special stream with the teams from Zano and Bravo Studio, and Q will be there. Q built, I think we've mentioned it in previous streams, but Q built this, the CRM template we have in Weweb was built by Q, and it's really cool. It has, you can use a snippet in Zano to then just recreate your own Zano and use it. And we're doing a special stream with the team from Zano and the team from Bravo Studio, because Bravo Studio, if you're not aware, it's a no-code native mobile app builder, and they build their own front end for a native app inspired by the design our template, and they're connecting to the same Zano backend that Q built. So yeah, we'll be presenting that, and hopefully you enjoy it. Yeah, and that's it. So thanks again for joining. I think tomorrow I might you might want to like, if you're not on Twitch or if you're not signed up on YouTube, but yeah, if you're not signed up, if you don't follow us on Twitch, you might want to, because I'm going to do more and more like improvised live stream where I'm building a content marketing tool to automate some of my work, and I thought it would be fun to build it in Weweb. So it won't be tutorials or anything. It will just be chilling and me showing you like basically how I'm messing up in Weweb. So if you wanna see that and maybe share some of your work, feel free. It'll be fun. Dems is excited. Yeah. Dems and Mael were actually in I did that last Friday. It was fun. Now that I have a streaming setup, I see no limits. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, and I talk to you very soon. And if there's anything we can help you with, we're on Twitter, we're in the support chat, we're in the community, and we do our best to answer as fast as we can. Bye everyone. Have a great day or evening, depending on where you're at the moment. Bye.